Yeah.
Jack, dude, tell me about
Thank you.
yourself. I want to hear your story. Your bio's super interesting. Let's start there.
So I'm a entrepreneur, gym owner, personal trainer. Started off, my business was a gym, so I ran like a two successful gyms. I ran. That was all the way up to COVID. COVID basically happened. I had a mental breakdown. Started drugs, alcohol. That was going on before that, but then it went on off on one when COVID hit. I'm a dad to two boys as well. Just a load of stress sort of happened in my life, sort of went tits up. I've then like rebuilt and I've got back to where I am now. So a lot's happened along the lines now. And yeah, I got like a load of perspective from it, and it's completely changed like my thoughts towards life. And I've now sort of coached dads who are going sort of through the same thing as I was, because I've realised it is actually quite common. And I thought I was alone at the time, but once I've started speaking about it, everyone's like, "Yeah, I do that," and I was like, "Oh shit!" So I thought I was special, and it turns out I'm not actually that special. But yeah, so
I have yet to meet anyone that's truly that special, myself included. Right. So Jack, one of the things that I really liked about your story, and as I kind of began my own side gig journey, I would not call myself an
yeah, man.
entrepreneur at all. But as I try to start building something on the side, this podcast, my brand, whatever you want to call that,
Hmm.
I think I've come to the realization that I was a lazy fuck when I wasn't married and when I didn't have kids, because
Uh-huh.
the things that I would do to go back in time and slap myself in the face to say, "Hey, asshole, like you've got 10 hours of free time a day, like go do
Uh-huh.
something." So, and now as a father, and you get this, I'm now in this point where it's like, okay, good luck. You get 30, 45 minutes, Monday through Friday, and maybe 2 hours on the weekends, right? To actually do some stuff. So I guess my big question is, how the hell did you figure out how to grow something on the side without totally neglecting your family, your children, your spouse? Or did you? And there's like a super interesting story there.
Yeah, no, so basically, yeah, so I started out on my entrepreneur journey at like a young age. So at 19, I like officially started my business. Now, this was at a time where, obviously, an age like here in the UK where you go to like uni, which I think equivalent is like college over for you.
Yep.
It was something I knew I didn't want to do because at the time I worked at Legoland, and everyone who worked there actually went through to uni, didn't do anything with the qualification, then they were on the same job as me. So I was like, well, yeah, I don't need to go to uni because I know what I want to do. So I set myself a goal then, was I'm going to make more money than my mates, get in debt, which I did do. But yeah, so I started off at an early age. I didn't have kids at the time. I still lived at home with mum and dad, so I was quite lucky that I could just work. All the money I made, invested back into the business. It took me 2 years to get my first gym. Uh, then after that, the next year, I opened up the second one. Um, that was going smoothly, and then I had kids. But then this is when I realized that how much of like a workaholic I was. Like I wasn't spending time with my family. I was constantly working. I was then stressed because of work, and then I'd come home and I'll snap at my kids just because I was stressed. All Woody, my little boy, wanted was like for me to play with him. He's not to see me all day. Like he's just crawling around, and I'm like, fuck off, because I'm shouting at him because I'm stressed. So yeah, I didn't have it all together at all, and then I started drinking and smoking weed, just to sort of alleviate the stress, so to speak. So yeah, I didn't have it all figured out. I had to go through the crap in essence to figure out like, well, actually, yeah, I was neglecting my sleep, which is a massive one. Even though I owned a gym, I wasn't working out. Um, I was obviously having bad habits, bad vices. So yeah, I was successful financially wise. So I was chasing the pounds, the dollars. That in that aspect, I was successful, but in other aspects of my life, I wasn't.
Whenever I talk to someone that, and as I've experienced this in my own life, I feel like when I am just so focused on work that I neglect everything, that I'm actually trying desperately to overcome some type of insecurity that I
Yeah.
have, right? Some type of mentality that, hey, if I don't make X amount of money, or I don't make as much money as my friends, or whatever narrative
Hmm.
around money that you have that's attached to your self-worth, I have found that that's when those problems of being stressed at work, working too much, coming home late, snapping at my kids because I just want to relax, actually comes
Hmm.
in. Um, do you feel like that you were trying to overcome anything, kind of as a,
Yeah.
and workaholism just happened to be your drug of choice?
Yeah, so I think like I'm an addict by nature. Like I think that's just my personality. No matter what I do, I've got to go 100%. I can't just dip my toe in the water. I've got to go 100%. And my first addiction was business. Now I love business. It gets my brain stimulating in a way, and I love it. Like it fascinates me. So yeah, I would just say I just deep dived into it, and I forgot everything else that was around me. I would say at the time I didn't have kids, I wasn't in like a relationship, so I could just solely focus on the business. But then I wasn't going out socializing. I didn't have a life outside of the business. So when it did come to having kids, I didn't know what to do. I was like, oh, how do I deal with this? Like, so I had to completely rebuild because of
Yeah, having a little boy myself, yeah, dude, you don't know shit ever. I
that.
still feel like every day I'm just trying to like work my way through it. He's learning new words, he's learning to communicate, and every
Yeah.
day is just kind of this new thing. Was there like a breaking point? Was there like what was
Yeah, so
take me to the moment where you realized shit, I've got a problem.
yeah, so it was COVID. Now for me, obviously when we went into lockdown, like I was running the gym at the time. I was coming to a point where I was getting fed up because I was up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I was there all day till like 8 o'clock at night, sometimes later. Then I'd come home, have my tea, my evening meal, and then I'd probably go back working or I'll just fall asleep on the sofa. So I didn't necessarily have a life, and that wasn't because my business was built that way. I had staff working for me. I just was so in the rut of work that I thought I couldn't do anything else. So when COVID hit, it gave me a pause in my life, like it did loads of people, and it just made me question what I was doing. Like I was waking up, um, I was then I'd roll a joint and I'd smoke that just to obliterate my mind, just so I'd then go in work stoned. And I was thinking I was performing at a high level, but I wasn't anyway. Um, and yeah, then I noticed, well, you're doing that because you're not happy with yourself, so something has to give. Um, and that's basically then when I started making a big change. Now, so yeah,
Yeah.
COVID and lockdown basically.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was a big wake up call for a lot of people. Um,
Yeah,
Fun.
massive.
So, I mean, it was for me, but I don't know if it was necessarily COVID. So, my son was born February of 2020. So this is right before.
Hmm.
This is maybe like a month or two before the lockdowns all came crashing down.
Yeah.
But I also got laid off 10 days after my son was born. So,
Hmm.
son is born, I'm on
Oh
paternity,
no.
my entire sales team gets laid off, and then we're in the throes of lockdown, and no companies were hiring. It was like the most intense, crazy, stressful period of my life. Um, but how did you go about making that change? So I think, for most hard substance abusers, I know a common
Hmm.
therapy is to wean off or go cold turkey, right? You need at least, you need a certain amount of time without your drug of choice, and in order to kind of reset some of the reward pathways in your brain, right? Kind of reset your dopamine. But work is kind of this interesting one, I'd imagine, because it's like we
Hmm.
need to work, So it's like, how do you go from working nonstop to working at a healthy level? Like, how did you go about making that change?
So, in typical Jack fashion, I went extreme the other way. So, I basically my mental state like deteriorated massively during COVID. I had basically worked myself into the ground, and there wasn't anything left for me to do. Like I had nothing left in me, so I needed a massive change. So basically, I sold the business. My staff at the time they took that on. We sold our house, and then we moved across country. So we went from one end of the country to the other end of the country. And then I basically took from the money that we had made from that, I basically took the year completely off to sort my head out. I deleted all my social medias. I went back to having a burner phone, so just an old school Nokia phone. Like I wasn't in contact with anyone, um, and I just had time to myself to figure out what it is that I actually wanted to do. I spent time with my family, fell in love with sort of being a dad. Um, I'm I'm useless with the kids till they like turn one. As soon as they turn one and they've got like a proper personality, then I come into it and I like it. But until then, I don't. I'm not really bothered. I don't really change many nappies. I'm bad in that aspect of things, but I'm there to play with them, and that's my job. So yeah, so I enjoyed time with family, and then from then I've rebuilt learning from all the mistakes I made. So I then started building a business around my life rather than my life around my business. And I've just slowly grown it now to a point where obviously I do my own podcast, I coach online, I coach here, and I've got like a big, fairly big garage gym. So I coach people here as well. And yeah, I make sure I schedule my family time first, my health time first before anything else. So I prioritize me, and it sort of just goes back to like what my values are, and where I want to be in like 10 years time rather than where I want to be tomorrow. Like I'm typical, like most entrepreneurs, most people, when I decide I want something, I want it yesterday. So I just go bam, 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 bam. But I don't get there. So I've just now have to be a lot smarter with how I do it and control myself more.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I love that. I love that. I'd love to dive into like what did building your own coaching business look like? You know,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
and I especially I'd love to hear your opinion, because you work with other parents, other dads who also want to be
Yeah.
entrepreneurs, right? And so I think it's really important like to make this as widely applicable as possible. How does specifically a father, a parent, someone that only
Hmm.
has an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours a day at absolute most to start a business, where does someone start with that?
So first off, is I always recommend that you got to look after yourself first. Like as entrepreneurs, we are like our business is limited by us and like our capacity. So we need to focus on ourselves first. So that is just simple things like making sure you're getting enough sleep, which I know with kids it is hard. But just a simple thing like setting yourself a bedtime and a wake up time, and just sticking to that religiously. Now, my youngest, I call him the devil child because he's literally wakes up every 2 hours. He's into everything. It's just a nightmare, but we love him. But yeah, so he wakes us up all the time. But I just make sure I set myself a bedtime. I stick to that, uh, and then I get up at the same time as well. I work out every day, just to make sure that I'm firing on time. Now, workouts don't need to be like an hour long. It can literally be like a 10-minute workout. I just do something just to make myself feel better. Um, Once you've just sort of then got that in place, it's just setting yourself, like you said, if you've got an hour, making sure it's as distraction free as possible. Now, obviously, with kids, it's hard if you work from home, especially like I do. You've just got to have a set space, no distractions as well. So no phones, no nothing like that, and just know what you're going to focus on.
Just really dial in. I love that.
Yeah, in essence,
Yeah, no, I
there's no
go for it. Sorry.
magic
No, all
pill.
you.
So just no. I was gonna say there's no magic pill. Like it is literally hard work, but it's smart work. You've got to know, obviously, have the vision of where you want to go. So it's sort of like outcome and process goals. You set the outcome where you want to go, and then you set a process which will get you there. So in a fitness term, obviously that's my background. It would be, say you want to lose 10 pounds, um, so that's the outcome. The process would be 3 workouts a week, um, reduce your calories, make sure you get 10,000 steps in. So then there's your processes, and then you just do that every day or every week to get there. And it's the same with a business. Say you want to make £1,000 extra a month. I don't say you're selling on eBay or something. That's the outcome. The process would be find the items, list the items, post the items. Like obviously that's just off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But you just know during that time that's what you're doing. And I'm a big believer now of using a schedule and using a calendar, and sticking to that religiously.
Yeah, I love that. So when can you walk me through the process that you had decided on when you started down this journey of your coaching business podcast? What were some of those kind of
Yeah.
process goals that you had set in place for yourself? And that's a very
So
selfish question,
yeah.
by the way, because I'm still trying to figure out what like my process is. So I'd love to hear someone that's, kind of at where I'm trying to go as well. What were some of the process goals that you had to that you felt you lived by and led to your success here?
Yeah, so for me, a massive one. It took me a while to figure out who it is that I actually wanted to help, and like who I could help. And I was listening to, I think it was on YouTube, and it just randomly popped up, and it was like, "Help the person you were 6 months ago." And it was just I heard it on like a subconscious level, and then I didn't think much about it. And then I was going on walks, it kept coming into my head like just help you 6 months ago. So that's what I decided to do. So the first one is obviously if you're setting up a coaching business, a business, know who it is that you're going to help and what problem is that they've got. Now, I'm not a business coach at all. I've just done business, so this is like my experience of it. So know who it is you want to help and the problem they've got. Then what I then did was find people that I knew who had that problem, and then I coached them for free. Once I've then coached them, I've got the result with them. I got my testimonials, my before and after pictures for me because it's a lot like weight loss, fitness, and yeah, and then I just started marketing that, selling. I then did a beta tester program, so then I sold it at a reduced rate. So I got some people who I didn't know at all, got them through the program, got them results, same thing, got a testimonial, pictures, and then I just carried on marketing that way to where I am today.
Yeah. It's almost like just raw hard work is always the best answer.
In essence, yeah, like you can't get anywhere without hard work, unfortunately. But it's a nice way to do it. Is like work smarter, build systems around it, stick to the basics. Now, that's something which I've learned. Like I've always tried to make everything overcomplicated it and try and put like my spin on things, and it's like, well, just keep it super simple, simple scales, so to say.
Yeah, no, that's a super interesting thought. Simple scales. I don't know if I've heard it quite like that before. I love that.
Yeah,
Yeah. So you said that you had heard this phrase on YouTube, like "help the person that you were 6 months ago," and it just stuck with you.
yeah,
That's where do you
yeah,
think I know this may be outside, your personal realm of expertise, but where the hell
yeah.
do you think that nagging comes from? Because I definitely feel like I hear some things that they just rattle around in my head forever, and I
Uh-huh.
can't let them go until I actually act on them. Where do you think that comes from?
I'm not too sure to be fair, but that is basically why I started smoking weed, and like taking weed because I thought like I was strange because my head like I would see something and then my head would be like, "It's a business idea. I need to do this," and then it would be going like 1,000 miles per hour, then something else, and it would be going, and I'd be like, "Wow, my I just couldn't switch off." So then that's when I started smoking weed, which I shouldn't have done because now I've gone through that, I realize that these thoughts are actually a blessings, and it's sort of it's a strength that we have if we are having these things, rather than like we're strange because we're having all these thoughts. But yeah, I don't know where it stems from. I don't know. We obviously have an itch that we need to itch, so I'm presuming it's that we're here for a reason. We might as well help.
I don't even know how to describe it. Like the only word that I can ever personally find is like ancient. Like there's this,
Hmm.
when certain phrases hit you, and I don't exactly know why they hit you. I'd love to have a conversation with Jordan Peterson about that
Mm.
if you know who that is.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but
yeah.
uh, but yeah, dude, that's phenomenal. So for the so for your personal fitness coaching business,
Hmm.
what are some of the things that uh, like shit, man? We get on the bus, or we drive to work. We're sitting down.
Yeah,
We get to our office. We're sitting down. We drive back, or
yeah.
sit, get back on the train, whatever it is. Sit down. Get home. Sit down. Sit down. Have dinner. We're never really actually moving. So for someone that's starting their fitness journey, in your opinion,
Hmm.
and I definitely have thoughts here as well. But I'd love to hear, what are some of the things that you first have to work on that you find with your clients to get them,
Yeah.
it's an interesting thought, but you have to get to a certain place before you can even think about increasing your cardiovascular strength, even think about
Yeah.
increasing your just raw muscular strength, muscle size. You have to get to a certain place first with like flexibility, with stability, with mobility. But where do you start generally with your clients?
Yeah, awesome. So obviously, I tend to work with a lot of dadpreneurs who are like sort of low on energy. I call them out of shape dadpreneurs. So like they might have gained weight, they're low on energy, they don't have energy to play with the kids, they don't feel good about themselves. So it's when you feel like that, you don't want to then add new things to your like your calendar and things that you've got to do. So I like to work on things which you're already doing. So again, this is going back to the simple things which I said, which is optimizing your sleep, trying to get as many hours of sleep as possible, and we're sort of optimizing the hour before bedtime as much as possible. And then we all eat every single day. And what we actually eat is a massive part of like how our energy is throughout the day, how we think, and then we look at improving obviously your nutrition as well. Just one meal at a time, not going crazy, completely changing the diet. Just looking at how we can improve what you are currently doing, which 9 times out of 10 is just something as simple as adding like more protein to the meals, and more vegetables. I know it's not great, but and a lot of people don't like vegetables, but it's honestly what we need to do. And then once people start doing that and eating them, that actually they don't actually taste that bad. And these ways you can make them taste nicer. You feel better in yourself. You've got more energy. Then we can look at adding things into it. Like exercise, just going on a walk, just doing more. And it's just all about gradually overloading what you're doing to get a result. You don't want to go from like I do in business, so a bit of a hypocrite going from 0 to 100 miles per hour. You literally want to go 0 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, and then just build it till it comes like a nice habit, and then you can push really hard.
Yeah, but Jack, sure, you may have not followed that in the past, but I think the really cool thing about
Uh-huh.
your story, like you made the mistake, like, and yeah,
Yeah.
you went from 0 to 100, and built a decently successful business, but you paid the price for it
Mhm.
in other ways. So I think
Yeah.
that's super interesting. Um, in in your bio, you talk about emotional eating, and I'd love to spend a ton of
Yeah.
time on this because I fall into this trap a lot. Um, and I'm sure a lot of your dadpreneurs do as well, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like eating's just an emotional thing. Like
Mhm.
I've always been great at lifting. Well, I shouldn't say always. For the past like 6 or 7 years, I've been fantastic at lifting.
Mhm.
Ever since I turned about 20 or so. And so getting me to the gym, let's go. Let's go lift some weight. Let's go squat. Let's go deadlift. Like I'm all freaking for it. Like I am here for that. But then when it comes to eating, I'm absolutely screwed. Why? Because I wake up at
Yeah,
5:30 to go to the gym. I'm at work by 8. I leave work at like 4:15. I'm home at 4:45. I have to spend, well, I don't have to. I get to spend time with my son, but he goes to bed at like
yeah.
7:30. The wife and I need some time. That takes me to 8:30. I am knocked out cold at 10 o'clock every single night. So if I kind of time my day, it's like I only have an hour and a half to like sit down with a buddy and play video games or, do whatever
Mhm.
I need to. So eating food, consuming whatever I want is an emotional way, but it's a way for me to exert a little bit more. It's like one of the few things I have control over,
Yeah.
which I realize some people use that to help them stay on diet. Or I guess I should retract what I just said. Diet is like one of those, it's like the only thing I don't really have to do.
Mhm.
So it's like I'm just gonna go
Yeah.
all out. I'm gonna eat all the free food at work. I'm gonna eat all the junk. Why? Because it's like I've got everything else somewhat dialed in. I don't have to stress about this. But then I think to your
Mhm.
point, yeah. But then I see the scale ticking up. I see my face getting a little bit fatter. I'm like, and then
Mhm.
shit, I'm a fat piece of shit. Ugh.
Yeah.
How do
So
we overcome that?
it's It's a lot of it is just controlling the emotions. Now, for me, like a way I kind of how I did it, because of again I'm partial to emotionally eating.
Sure.
I'll be stressed, and then I'll be like, oh, I'll have some chocolate or something like that, and I'll feel better, and it's just nice. But a lot of it for me, I started meditating, which for like I was never into meditating because I thought it was all very like woo woo, and I never sort of understood necessarily the point of it because when I would meditate, my brain would then go elsewhere, and then I'd be like, "Oh, I can't bloody do this." But then I realized, well, that's the point of it. Your
That's
brain
the
does go
freaking
elsewhere,
point.
and it's just
It took me forever to
yeah.
realize that that's exactly how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, so that's what I was like. So I was like, so then I kept bringing it back to it. And then once I got good at that, now I don't meditate for a long time, and I've not actually done it for a couple of weeks now, so I probably should get back onto it. But I'll meditate for like 5, 10 minutes. And by doing that, I actually found when I get like that stressor to just eat something, I just check in with myself. Like I'll do 2 or 3 deep breaths, and then I'll be like, well, yeah, I don't actually want it. So that's the way which I went about doing it. Now, there's other ways to do it, which is obviously not having the food in the house. Simple way. If it's not in the house, you
It's
can't eat
huge.
it, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, so these loads of different ways to do it, but it's just for me. I've always found it's coming down to controlling the emotion, and like it's at a deeper level than on skin level.
Yeah. So what I often run into, Jack. So I work at a technology company out here in Utah. It's a
Mhm,
very well established, fairly large, but still growing rapidly tech software
mhm,
company. Dude, and in the particular team I'm on, we help to bring like new salesmen into the company. So I'm a sales trainer for new hires, and
yeah.
so we do a 2 week class twice a month. The first week, though, we get food every day for not only my team but the new hires. So I have free food at my disposal like 75% of the time that I'm at work, like free meals. But then beyond that,
Mhm.
the company's great. There's always a ton of snacks, crackers, soda machines. Like it's freaking dude, it sucks. It's all free. I don't have to stress about it. Honestly, I don't know if I've bought myself groceries in like a week or two, and I shouldn't admit that, but like I haven't had to buy myself food because I just eat like shit and eat a ton at work. That's something I run into a lot. So it's kind of like, oh, it's free, it's here, like
Yeah. Yeah, no, I understand that, but it comes down to sort of what it is you want in like the long term as well. Now, if you want to obviously perform at your optimum, you need to be eating at your optimum as well. So it comes down to what you want. It's in that moment. It's all about like the mental toughness. Now, I'm a big fan of Andy
Yeah,
Frisella. I don't know if you've heard of him.
yeah. First
75
form.
hard. He
Yep.
does a challenge. Yeah, yeah. So I've literally a couple of weeks ago finished the 75 hard challenge.
Congrats.
Highly recommend it. It is awesome. You should do it. And the main thing which changed for me was the diet. Now, always been someone who was in shape, fairly lean. But for 75 days, I'd nailed my diet. Like it was on point every single day. Um, like how I felt, like in my head, like how much clearer I felt, like I was thinking faster. I just felt, and I looked a lot leaner as well. I just felt so much sharper, and it just shows how much food plays a massive part in it. So for me now, I want to be optimum. That is now why I sort of stay away. Don't get me wrong, still eat chocolate, but
Oh,
that's
sure.
why I sort of make.
You'd be
Yeah,
psychotic if
that's
you
why now
didn't.
I'm.
You'd be crazy if you didn't,
Yeah, yeah.
Jack. That's awesome. What kind of diet did you pick for 75 hard?
So I did a fasting diet. So for me, I've never fasted, always been quite interested in it. One of my sort of goals target is now to surpass 100. I want to live past 100. I want to see like my grandkids grow up. So that's one of my goals. So I'm big on like longevity. So I picked fasting because of all the health benefits behind that. Um, I then just stuck to begin with, it was sort of like meat and veg and just like the paleo sort of type of diet.
Yeah.
But as I progressed through, I went towards like a more veggie, like Mediterranean sort of style
Okay.
diet. So like fish. steaks, lamb, a lot of veg, and yeah, and eggs. I just stuck to sort of that, and I feel I've probably gone veggie. So someone from coming from like a bodybuilding, like you've got to have chicken, rice, broccoli
Yep.
6, 7 times a day to like
Yep.
eating like two or three times a day. I never thought I'd be that person, but I felt so much lighter, so much better in myself, had more energy. I didn't have like the ups or downs. And yeah, it was massive actually. It was a
Yeah.
big I've yeah, it was good. It
You
was a good
felt
diet.
yourself thinking faster.
Yeah.
Tell me
So
about that. I mean, that's just such an interesting thought. I mean, to some extent, I think we all know that food's
mhm.
important. I don't think there's a single person on this planet that will hear that and think, "Oh no, that doesn't make sense." Like literally, like the expression "you are what you eat." Like, we
It's true.
all know this at some deep metaphysical level
Yeah.
that's 100% true. But I want to hear, again, not surprised, but tell me, like, at how long into 75 hard did you realize, oh shit, I'm a lot smarter now?
It's probably got to do with reading the books as well. But it was like the first 2 or 3 weeks were quite hard. Like I could still feel like the sugar in my system. Obviously, I started at the beginning of the year, so I had the Christmas indulgence of mince pies and all of that. So I had like a lot of sugar in my system. So it was like 2 or 3 weeks. I was still feeling a bit crappy, and then literally week 4 hit, and I was like, I just felt energized and like a constant buzz, which was good, which I put down to a lot to do with like the water. I've always found like the more water which I drink, like the more energy I have and like the clearer I'm thinking. But going back to like my sort of thinking, it was just I could make a decision without second guessing myself, and I knew it was like the right decision, and I just seemed more focused. Like it was like I knew this was the thing I needed to do, and I did it,
Yeah,
and I could think fast and not like then second guess myself. Like actually, was it not? Yeah, I think it's a big part of like the full program, but it does come down to like my diet because I was exercising twice a day coming up to that. The big thing which changed was my water and my diet, and like I said, then my thinking changed with that.
yeah, yeah. I was gonna say, I mean, Jack, like, water's the main ingredient in Coke. You know,
Hmm. Yeah.
no worries, right? No. Dude,
Yeah,
that's
no,
awesome. What was your go-to outdoor workout?
So I've got dogs, so most of the time I would go like on a and where I live now is like mountains, very
I
hilly.
love that.
Wouldn't
Oh,
say
that's awesome.
mountains, hills. So I'd go on like power walks, runs. I'd mix it up sometimes with some bike rides, and that would probably be the outdoor workouts.
Love that. Love
I
that.
think I did some swimming sometimes, but
Yeah. So I mean, we're talking about emotional eating. Um,
mhm,
as you've helped other dadpreneurs, out of shape
yeah.
dadpreneurs, what are some of like the really big common emotions that people are trying to overcome through food?
Stress. Like, that's the biggest one which I come up with is stress. It's why obviously we drink as well. It's why I smoked. Stress is a massive factor, and it's just not having a vent to do that. Now, a lot of people I work with, they've got poor time management as well. They're like the who I was, work, work, work. Didn't know how to balance everything, so they don't have a social life. They don't look after their health. So it's stress. So if you get good factors in place, like again, I keep saying it, it's your sleep, your food, you're exercising, you're getting outside, just getting some fresh air, you can cope with stress a lot better. So then you're not necessarily emotionally eating, but it's then just breaking the habit.
Yeah. As you was there when did you start like working out? This is gonna be a weird question.
Me personally,
Did you grow up a fat kid? I'm just curious.
no. So I grew up a skinny kid.
Okay,
So
so me too.
I have asthma. Yeah.
Okay.
So I have asthma, and I've got older brothers. So when you've got asthma, your chest, so I believe, either sticks out or caves in. So I think it's called like pigeon chest. And I was that skinny, my chest like stuck out. So my brother always used to say, "Oh, look at your chest." And I think that got me like very body conscious. So then I started doing press ups. Then I got pecs, and I was like, "Yeah, look at my chest now, bitch." So that sort of got me into the sort of fitness.
Yeah.
That was at a young age, so I think it was like 13, 14. Then I was working out because I was sort of more plates, more dates. So it was all for the girls to begin with.
More plates, more
I
dates.
was always into
Classic.
like yeah. So I was always into like my martial arts training like at a young age. So I did like that MMA up to like 18, 19. Then when I set the gym up, people would say, "You're a personal trainer," like because I was skinny. I was probably the fittest I've ever been, but because I was skinny, and the industry that we're in, you've got to like look big, muscular, to be classed as a good personal trainer. But in my experience, they're probably like the worst personal trainers. So then I went down like the bodybuilding. That is a broad statement, but just throwing it out there. Then I went down like the bodybuilding route, and then I started going on steroids and just to literally blow up. So I got very big. I was big, but I was dead stiff. I was holding a lot of stress on my body. I was constantly injured. I looked good. But yeah, so then I went down that sort of route, came off the steroids, stopped training altogether, started smoking weed. Um, then emotionally eating, drinking, got like skinny fat, so I like lost my muscle, gained fat, and now I've I'm back working out, and I sort of just more functional training. My training is just to move better, be able to play with the kids, have more energy. Like I'm still very lean. Like I look good with my top off. I'm confident in how I look, but I'm just not like a big brick in essence now. I'm a lot
Yeah.
more flexible. So
Yeah.
to answer your question, I've sort of always worked out from like a young age.
Yeah. So I've noticed. So I mean, this may be me totally lying to myself.
Uh-huh.
Take this with a grain of salt. But so
Mhm.
I started working out when I was 20. It's because I was fucking heartbroken. I'd gotten my heart
Mhm.
smashed into a tiny million little pieces, and just discovered that exercising kind of took some of the pain away. Like, it made me feel
Mhm.
good. Like, I started to forget, and I directly attributed working out with mental health and mental strength. And so,
Mhm.
in along the journey, I fell in love with the bodybuilding esque style of training. Like, I really
Yeah.
genuinely believe that I wasn't trying to prove anything. I just genuinely wanted to beat myself from last week. Like, I've recorded my workouts meticulously for years, and like every week
Yeah.
going in, it's like, okay, last week I benched the I did an incline bench with 90s. My first set, I did 15 reps, and then 12, and then and then 10. Okay, I need to find another rep, and I genuinely believe that I fell in love with that process. Now,
Mhm.
I did start a TikTok a while ago called the Baker Body. Yes, it's real douchey, but I love it. Um, but but my motivations changed.
Mhm.
I was no longer working out just to improve, just to feel that endorphin high, just to get better, get stronger, get faster, all that I loved. I started working out for the validation of people on TikTok. And I started
Yeah.
dieting. At least I started dieting. I didn't finish dieting, especially, but I started dieting for the validation and approval of others. And I see a lot of, especially young dudes, going to the gym. They look all pretty, their hair's done, like
Yeah.
they've got the flyest shoes, but they're the worst actual shoes that you could possibly wear for weightlifting. I see this ego driven stuff so much, and I fell into it along in my journey as well. But from your story, it sounds like there was some of that. How do you, now that you're
Yeah, yeah.
working out again, how do you stop yourself from falling into this trap of working out for the validation of others? Because I think that's like where a lot of people, um, it doesn't just apply to working out, right? But a lot of people start things for the
Yeah.
validation of others. they can't sustain them, and they don't know how to sustain them with intrinsic motivation. So I know that's a super long story. I'm
Hmm.
rambling, but I want to hear from your perspective how you felt like you overcame that validation seeking from others. I mean, that's that's the steroid use.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
that's everything, right? So how did you overcome that emotionally for yourself?
I became happy. Simple answer. I literally went with him, um, figured out who I was, what it was that I wanted, why I was doing these things. I came off all social media. I have Facebook now, but I only have that for my business. So I don't necessarily scroll through it. I don't see anything. Um, and yeah, I just became happy with myself. I'm in a happy relationship. I'm happy with my two boys. My house, very happy with where I live. Like, I just became happy. Now, at the time when I was on the steroids, doing all the bodybuilding, I was living a single life. Like, I wasn't happy. And like you said, I would laugh. I laugh about it now. I'd go to the gym, get a swole, get a pump on, take a picture, whoa, and
Yes.
then go on Tinder, find someone, and yeah, it was just, it
Yep.
was just, I wasn't happy. I was always looking for sort of that next thing, and I think that's what social media does. It's always sort of like, this is what you could have, this is what you could be, but it's always people's like best. Like, they're not like that all day. Like, I wasn't that big all day. I was just that big for 10 minutes, but I put it on the internet like, wow, look at me. And then when I started realizing that and became happy with myself, distanced myself from everything, that's sort of when I got over it. Now I work out now for myself, but I also do it for my kids. Like, I have, like I said, my vision is to live surpass 100. Ideally, that would be awesome. Um, and yeah, so that's why I train. I'm not. I don't really care what other people think or say. I'm doing this for me. At the end of the day, people. Obviously, I've run the gym. People, you annoy people if you try and help them. Like, if you're doing good, people have something bad to say no matter what you do. So everyone's got an opinion, don't they? So just happy with it myself, and my advice would be, find happiness with yourself.
I think what you just said is crucial. Um, that someone is going to hate you, hate what you do, regardless. Whether you do it well or you
Yeah,
do it poor, someone is always going to hate you. So you may as well just be happy doing whatever the hell you
yeah,
want.
pretty much. It's yeah, it just comes down to that. Like, for me, I had a load of beliefs, like, to put myself back out there again, because when you advertise on Facebook, you always get some arsehole giving you abuse in the comments for no reason
Of course.
whatsoever.
Of course.
I laugh at it now because it's funny, but you can't help but take it personally. Um, but but it's just the way of the world. They're probably jealous because they want to be doing what you're doing, but they don't have the balls, in essence, to do it themselves. Um, so yeah, so I try not to take it personally. Like, it's hard. But yeah, like I said, I'm happy with myself. I'm just trying to help people. So yeah, put myself out there.
Sure.
And like you say, people will judge you, people will hate you no matter what.
Hurt people hurt people. I think is a common expression.
Exactly.
People who
Yeah.
are hurt will hurt others. So I mean, Jack,
Yeah.
we'll finish on this because I want to hear your thoughts. I think you had a super unique opportunity to be able to sell your business, sell your
Hmm.
house, and like really like our environment is
Yeah.
everything. And you were able to kind of
Hmm.
reset your environment. And I think in a way that
Yeah.
really helped you reset emotionally and mentally. But I'm sure you've
Yeah.
got clients that they don't have that opportunity. They can't move. They can't quit their job. They can't sell their house and move across the country to the mountains. You and I are kindred spirits. I'd love to be up living in the mountains right now. So how do you help your clients, your friends, your family? How do you help people
Hmm.
that can't afford that opportunity of an environmental reset to still reset
Yeah.
everything inside?
Yeah, no, myself. Obviously, I know I was very lucky. I was in a very fortunate situation to do that. So I understand. I am blessed to have been able to do that.
I
But
mean, you worked for it.
yeah, with clients,
You did work for it though,
yeah,
right?
yeah, we work for it.
There's you definitely
Yeah.
set yourself up, right? There was no luck there. You absolutely put yourself in that situation. I didn't mean to insinuate otherwise.
No, it's not. But yeah, so with clients, what we sort of work with is the things that we can control. So yeah, I upped and changed my environment completely. But your environment could literally be places you visit, people you hang around with. So if you've got that friend who you're telling them you're going to do something and then they put you down, just stop hanging around with that person, which is easier said than done. But you just slowly fade it out. Say that you go into places like pubs, clubs, you just slowly fade that out, and then you introduce something else like the gym. It's just picking a better choice in the moment. Now you've always got choices. Do you pick a bad choice or do you pick a good choice? It's just making a better decision at the time,
Yeah. Small decisions.
and then eventually, yeah, just small decisions, control what you can control, and just go from there. Then eventually it'll compound up. So day 1, 2, 3, eventually in a year you can be a completely different person than
Yeah.
where you were, and you've not changed a load of things. You've just slowly faded things out and added new things into it.
Love
So
that.
you don't need to go extreme like I did. You can do it slowly. I just needed to get away, get out, just to clear my head because I might not have been here if I didn't have done that. I was in that bad of a place. I just needed to go.
Love that.
So yeah.
Jack, where can people find more about you? We're absolutely going to link your Facebook page down below if someone wants to check out your coaching. But is the Facebook page the best place
Yeah.
for you?
So to be probably not to be honest, the best place is probably my podcast, which would be Ambitions of the Dad podcast. Which if you search on, I think I'm only on Spotify, iTunes, and Amazon, which I probably need to get on others. But if you go to ambitionsofthedad.com, you can find it there. I do have a Facebook group, which is Dadpreneurs Get It All. Where we sort of teach you how you can manage your time, look after your health, and have the energy to be super dad. So you can go to there, you can join the group. We post up content in that weekly. A bit like you though, I am thinking of changing that. So if it does change, I'll send you a new link,
Yeah,
a
please
new link
do.
in the comments. But my podcast, listen to my podcast, and yeah, just my podcast. My podcast will tell you everything about me, really.
Love that. Jack Stacey, thank you for your time, brother. I appreciate it.